Alright, cut serve tutorial. So I'll try to explain everything that I've learned over the last, I've been trying to do a cut serve for since middle of February, so it's 5 or 6 months now. And so every single time I go to do it, I would learn a new thing, or at least learn something that I shouldn't do. And anyway, so I'll try to explain it all in about 10 minutes, what I've learned over 6 months, but I probably still have heaps to learn. But my serve does cut sometimes, and that's pretty cool. So I think I understand the physics and the idea of it. I'm trying to get more consistency, but hopefully I know enough to actually teach it. So there's a number of things to go over, but basically one thing is you'll see people hit cut serves in a lot of different ways, their initial stance. I'd say the three main ones are basically the way Tyler Chiswick does his, and he's considered the best cut server in the world. If the net's the camera, he kind of stands a 45 degree, he throws it up, and then he kind of just swings off 1 foot. And it's funny because that's the serve that I practiced for I think 4 months, just standing the way he does. And then also one day I was just I'll just try a different one. So then I tried the one where you just stand straight, and then you just step out a little bit. You don't even have to step, but it's a bit more natural. Just step a little bit, boom. And then the third option, which I do 50-50 along with the second one I just said, is basically start in the way that Tyler Chiswick does his at the 45 degree angle, and then step from there. And then that way you get a bit more angle and stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know, the thing I'm realizing is the more you step, it'll give you more angle, but then usually also they read the step, and they know you're gonna hit at a greater angle. So it is good to get that angle and stuff, but I wouldn't worry too much about the step, because if I just step a little bit and make it cut really well, or if I step a lot and make it cut really well, either way, they're probably with me up until the point that it cuts. So I don't know, the step can be nice, you just kind of do whatever feels best. Anyway, so when it comes to a cut serve, the most, obviously the whole idea of the cut serve is that you're putting a spin on the ball so that when it hits the net, it jumps to the left instead of just continuing on straight. So in order to do that, you need to put a specific type of spin on the ball, and you also need to put a lot of spin on the ball. So the more you can do both of those things, the more it'll cut. So the more you can make your spin ideal, it'll cut more, and then also the more RPMs you can get from the time it leaves your hand to the net, it'll cut more as well. So when it comes to the spin, I'd actually drawn a line on this ball when I was trying to teach my teammate what I was mentally thinking about cut serves. So basically when it comes to, what's best, to hitting a cut serve, you don't want to have a top spin, and you don't want to just have a side spin. Ideally, you actually kind of want to have a 45 degree. So the ball would be spinning, well, it's kind of opposite in the camera. Anyway, so the ball would be spinning like this. I think if anything, it's better for it to kind of be on this side of the 45 degrees, but that's the goal. So the more you can get that 45 degree, or maybe slightly less, when it hits the net, it'll jump even more. So in order to do that, there's a lot of important things, but the main thing is how you contact the ball with your hand. Most people, just on an average serve without even meaning to, they'll contact the ball usually kind of just flat. But actually what ends up happening, even when you hit flat, it usually ends up with a slight underspin. Maybe a slight overspin, but basically not a whole lot of spin, which is fine as long as it's consistent. But when it comes to these purposes, you want to hit the ball with tons of spin, and you want to hit it with the right spin. So in order to do that, the way that it should work is you need to be holding, or you want to make contact with the ball so that the ball is exiting off of your bottom 3, preferably bottom 2 fingers. So what that would look like is like I would come, so I'd throw it up, serve it. I'm hitting the ball, I'm trying to come over top, and then the ball is coming like this and then off my fingers, creating that spin. So it's kind of like, it's almost like, I don't know if you remember like that beach game where you hold that, it's like a thing that's kind of shaped like this, and you put the ball in it and then you like throw it, and because it has a bit of a cup, it kind of gives it like extra spin, you can get extra distance on it. It's kind of the same thing as like, the idea, like this is an exaggerated version, but the idea is basically that like the ball would be starting like almost on your palm, and as you're coming through, it's like rolling off of your hand. And yeah, so it's like traveling from your palm, roughly like your palm, to your fingers and coming off, and that's what's giving it the spin. But weirdly enough, the key to this, like mentally, is you gotta learn, even if it doesn't cut, the first thing to practice is just trying to practice getting your hand to come over top of the ball. That is like so important. Anytime you hit the ball flat, like square, or slightly underneath, it won't cut, like for sure. So you need to work on like trying to bring the hand over top of the ball, and so it comes over top and then flicks out. So it's kind of a weird dynamic, but for some reason when it comes over the top, it kind of forces the ball down your hand and flicks out that way. Now, of course, worst case scenario, if you get really good at hitting over the top, you'll just have a bit of topspin, which is fine, because then at least when it hits the net, it goes like even faster. So that's a good thing as well. So even if it's not cutting, at least you're hitting with topspin. So yeah, step 1 would just be like practice when you're throwing up the ball, hitting the ball with topspin, and then that would be like step number 1. And then of course, with your hand positioning, which we'll talk about in a second, it will help you get the ball to come out. The other thing is I like to think is when I throw up the ball, I try to tell myself that only half the ball exists, like only the top half. So then like in my brain, instead of seeing the whole ball and trying to hit the whole thing, I'm only trying to make contact with the top half of the ball. That really helps me to get over it. Another thing that will help you get over it is when you throw it up and you kind of wind up. A lot of us will just like wind up like whatever, our hand will just go crazy and then we'll try to come over. But if the whole entire time, try to keep it so that your palm is facing the ground the whole time. So no matter what, whether you come back or forward, the whole entire time, it's facing the ground. That'll really help you get over top of it. So what that would look like is like you pull back, the hand's still facing, it's coming, and of course when you slow it down, slow motion, you'll see it kind of opens up a bit, but that's kind of natural. But like mentally just tell yourself, keep it closed the whole time, and then boom. When it comes to making proper contact, like that's probably the most important thing, because sometimes, or most of the time, it's not actually that hard to throw up a ball and hit it. But where we miss our serves, not just cut serve, but just in general, is usually when it comes down to how the ball contacts the hand. And just the slightest difference can be a big deal. So I think I would recommend to start, to try to get the grip down, would be to take your hand, make a circle, and then just put the ball, put the ball in your hand. So just make a circle and then put the ball in. That's basically how you would want your hand to be contacting the ball when you serve. So, of course, so it'd be kind of like this. Coming over, like this, and then flicking out. Don't think about trying to flick the ball out or anything. That'll just happen automatically. Actually, if anything, I would say even keep your fingers like almost a bit tight and just let the flick just happen. Like it'll, like, yeah, no problem. It'll happen by itself. So anyways, it'll feel really weird. Some people do like different things. At first, I started by trying to hold my hand actually like this. It just wasn't really working for me. You could, I don't know. I even tried like this for a bit. But now, for some reason, what works the best is all I do is I just stick my pointer finger at the ground the whole time. So when I throw it up, I'm pointing it down. This also helps keep my palm there. And then I just, come over the top, try to get those bottom fingers on it, and you really want to try to get rid of this finger. Like, it'd almost be better if it didn't exist. You want to try to get rid of this finger, so whatever grip you need to do, whether you need to physically hold it there or yeah, whatever, you just got to figure out what works for you. Just get rid of this pointer finger so that you're only using your bottom three, coming over and making contact, and there it goes. So again, what I'd recommend when you first start, just never mind the grip, just work on just getting over top of the ball for a bunch of serves, just constantly boom, boom, over top. And then when you're ready to start getting the grip, just start by holding it like this. Literally hold it like this until, yeah, like the whole time, like you're kind of getting ready to serve, rock back and forth. Hold it like this so you know you have the right grip, and then just keep your hand right there, and then just go ahead and hit it. It's going to be really weird at first because, yeah, it's just weird. But yeah, just focus on, like, you basically want your hand to be the shape of the ball when you're hitting it in order to create like a wrap and a cut, or not a cut, but a wrap and like a coming over of the ball. So you're kind of getting on top of it, getting in it. No open hand stuff. Like, keep that hand nice and tight and small and let that ball flick out. Okay, and then when it comes to the body, I would say, like, I'll probably say this 100 times, but I think like the two most important things for me at least, when it came to practicing a cut serve, was A, the idea of coming over the top and getting it to come off the bottom fingers, but we already went over that. The second thing that really like clicked for me was when I actually stopped trying to use my arm for power and started using my hips. Because a lot of times what would happen is when you try to use your arm has so many joints because it goes from like your shoulder to your elbow to your wrist and then your fingers. So that's like 4 different things that can go wrong by the time it hits the ball. Because yeah, a lot, like, you'll kind of like flick like this and stuff. So that's a lot of like areas of concern. And so what I started doing, and I think I've had other people who are like really good at cut serves actually confirm this, is basically, it's not quite like this, but I guess just to like exaggerate to like teach it, it's almost as if your arm is actually doing nothing and your body's doing everything. So of course it doesn't look that robotic, but actually think about being like almost like a robot. So when you throw it up, to move back, it's your hips that are moving, and then to follow through, it's your hips. Like, your hips are doing everything. So the hips are what's bringing your hand towards the ball and not your arm. Because again, if you just keep it like this, then pretty much all those joints that I was talking about aren't really moving. Your shoulder is only moving because your hips are moving. Your elbow's just moving. Yeah, like everything's just moving because your hips are. So you have a lot of control, and it's really easy to repeat the idea, like getting that nice contact on the ball, getting over top and letting it flick out. It's really easy to repeat because it's your hips that are controlling it. There's not as many variables. So I guess the best way to mentally think about making sure that you're using your hips is whether, like, no matter which way you stand, I think I've seen you do some kind of like a step out. So if it's just like this, it's like, I'm here, I'm throwing it up, you're gonna slightly turn back to gain like a little bit of power. And then think about facing your whole body to the net before your arm, and then your arm just kind of comes through because it's attached to your body and it has to, right? So think what? Throw it up, and then think, okay, I'm gonna face the net, not necessarily with your head and your eyes, but with your body. Throw it up, I'm gonna face the net, and then it kind of creates the whip, boom, and then your hand comes over it. And a really good way to make sure you're doing this, both with like the hips and like the whole coming over action, is to look at your follow through. So if your follow through, like an ideal follow through would look pretty much like this. So your hand would stay over, right? Because you're hitting the ball, you're coming over, and then it's ending. So your hand's not coming up, it's not ending out here, it's coming through, boom. So that's kind of like as far as like the whole body goes, it's pretty much like this is how you're hitting, right? So just all in the hips, let the hand come through, boom, and that's a really good way to think about how to get that body to basically not have so many variables and just keep it really simple. Yeah, so I guess that's that's pretty much it. Another good thing with the cut serve, and I guess a lot of serves depending on what you're doing, you can just stand pretty much right on top of the 6 foot line, because when you throw the ball, you're going to throw the ball on top of the 6 foot line and then make contact with it. So yeah, you can actually get quite close without having to worry about going over. As long as your toss is behind the line and your feet, then you can just feel free. Okay, so to recap, first most important thing is getting that the proper spin on the ball, which is a spin that's like this. Right, so it's hitting the net, or it's spinning, it's hitting the net, and then it's hopping over. And then also, by the way, you want to try to hit not super tight on this side, because sometimes you'll miss a little bit of the pocket will actually take away from the spin. So kind of like middle to left side of the net, but that's pretty much the same for any serve with your right hand. Yeah, so just try to get that. And so the ball's spinning, it's hitting the net, and then it's jumping over to the left. Anyways, so yeah, recap, get that spin down, come over top of the ball, use those bottom 3 fingers. That's the one thing, and the second thing is use your hips and make sure your follow through is coming across your body, and keep that hand facing the ground the whole entire time in order to make sure that you're always coming over top. Yeah, I'll also send you some of I've made a few videos of me actually hitting a cut serve. So hopefully everything that I just said to do is like in that video some way or another. But yeah, wow, of course I went way longer than I thought, but whatever. You asked me to make the video, so you just gotta deal with it. All right, cheers, bro.